And I want to extend a big welcome to our two speakers today. Brad Ferrier, many of us know because he is with us in the libraries. Brad is a digital project librarian, and his job focuses on the caption and transcription of AV material from digital storage, the ingesting of born digital materials, and web archiving. In the library, he is involved in numerous activities related to digitization and born digital projects, and he serves as a member of the library's Ideas Council. Brad has been a member of the CDA since 2018 and is the current treasurer. So welcome, Brad. And Patti Bahr, welcome. Patti Bahr has worked at the University of Iowa since 2014. She was the director of the Iowa Center for Assistive Technology Education and Research. Looks like the acronym is ICATER, in the College of Education for nearly 5 years, and is currently the project manager at Iowa's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. That acronym looks like UCEDD. As project manager, you said. As project manager, she is a core faculty for graduate students in Iowa's leadership education in neurodevelopmental and related disabilities, lead instructor for 1 to 3 graduate student leadership in diversity and disability fellows, and project manager for the Iowa National Summer Transportation Institute, which introduces junior high students of color with disabilities about careers in the transportation industry. Adjunct instructor experience includes developing and instructing a graduate course, which is Universal Design and Accessibility for Online Instruction, first-year seminars, Neurodiversity, Way Beyond Left Brain, Right Brain Thinking, Assistive Technology and Intersectionality of Diversity and Disability, and 2 courses for undergraduates and the public, Evaluating and Designing Accessible Digital Materials and Applying Accessible Digital Materials. So thank you. We're so interested in what we're going to hear today.
Okay, I'll get started. Hello, we are here to talk about the Council on Disability Awareness. Before we get started, I would like to start off with a land acknowledgement read by members of the Native American Council.
The University of Iowa is located on the homelands
of the Ojibwe and Anishinaabe, Bahoji,
Iowa,
Kickapoo, Omatmanewak,
Menominee,
Miamika,
Miami,
Natuchi,
Missouri,
Omaha,
Wazaji,
Osage,
Jaware,
Oto,
Odawa,
Ottawa,
Ponca, Potawatomi, Nishnawbe,
Potawatomi,
Meskwaki, Nemahaki, Sakawaki, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, Sanish, Nubaga, Nuweta,
and the Ho-Chunk Nations.
The following tribal nations: the Omaha Tribe of Nebraska and Iowa, Ponca Tribe of Nebraska, Sac and Fox Nation of the Mississippi and Iowa, and Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska continue to thrive in the state of Iowa, and we continue to acknowledge them.
As an academic institution, it is our responsibility to acknowledge the sovereignty and the traditional territories of these tribal nations,
and the treaties that were used to remove these tribal nations, and the histories of dispossession that have allowed for the growth of this institution since 1847.
Consistent with the university's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion,
understanding the historical and current experiences of Native peoples will help inform the work we do.
Collectively, as a university, to engage in building relationships through academic scholarship, collaborative partnerships, community service, enrollment, and retention efforts, acknowledging our past, our present, and future Native nations.
So I'm Brad Ferrier, as she said earlier. I use he, him pronouns. I am a white male with short hair and glasses wearing a gray fleece sweater. I'm zooming from home. I had a stroke in 2013 and now have right side hemiparesis and anomic aphasia, a deficit of expressive language. In my case, I take in information normally, but sometimes relaying that information verbally can be a challenge. During my portion of the presentation, I will be reading from my notes. This helps me to stay on track. I'm speaking today with Patti Bahr, who I will let introduce herself.
I'm Patti, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm an older white female with mostly light brown shoulder length hair. There's some natural white highlights in here. I wear glasses, and I'm wearing a light green shirt and matching light green jacket. And I'd just like to say that I'm delighted to be here.
The topic of our presentation today is the Council on Disability Awareness, one of 7 diversity councils at the University of Iowa. We will talk about the history, the advocacy that is being done by the CDA and how to become involved. Membership in the CDA includes people from a wide range of disciplines and backgrounds with and without disabilities, aligned in a common spirit of advocacy, community, and equality. On this slide, we have a photo of Jen Knights, Marketing and Community Engagement Specialist and Manager of Wild Bills, UI School Social Work, and member of the CDA, greeting people during the ADA celebration on the Ped Mall in the summer of 2019.
Brad, do you want to do full screen?
Yeah.
For slides?
The mission of the council is to support campus experiences for people with disabilities that align with the University of Iowa core values of community, diversity, integrity, and respect and responsibility. The council seeks advancement of a university community that embraces the full inclusion of people with disabilities who are here to learn, work, receive care, or visit. And the vision statement is a university community infrastructure and culture which embodies inclusiveness, dignity, and respect for individuals with disabilities. On the side, there are pictures of 3 people holding up I am CDA campaign signs during the ADA celebration, summer 2017. An example of a blank I am, my disability does not define me sign is also pictured. First, a longtime disability advocate, Keith Ruff, holds a sign that says, I am an animal lover, I like to travel, I read a book a week, and I have a TV show. Then we have Erin Noon-Kay, another disability advocate, with a sign that reads, I am Erin. I love my disability. Visibility is important. accessibility starts with conversation. And I'll let Patti talk about the last photo.
I have invisible disabilities. I have moderate scoliosis and I'm hard of hearing. I don't know who you think of when you hear the term disability, but some people automatically think of wheelchairs for people with mobility impairments and white canes for people who are blind. If you were to look at me, you probably wouldn't realize that I have disabilities. I wear loose fitting tops to hide my curved back. But people who know me well know that I used to be about 2 inches taller. I also wear hearing aids, which makes it so much easier for me to hear men. My hearing loss is in the frequency of male voices. And after I got my hearing aids, I told my husband that he had stopped mumbling. He said, "Patti, I haven't been mumbling." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's me." But it was a bit of humor in our household when he stopped mumbling. So I hope that after hearing this presentation, you'll be more aware of the people with disabilities on campus and how the CDA has been working for many years to make the campus more welcoming for everyone. So I can't, and you can read my sign. I'm a mom, I'm a sister. I like to read and garden. My disability does not define me. Next, Brad is going to give us some history on the CDA.
In October of 1988, the Service for Persons with Disabilities Advisory Committee was convened with the purpose of increasing the visibility of SPD on campus and garnering administrative support for its objective. Then in 1989, the committee changed its name to Committee on Campus Accessibility and developed a mission statement. The CCA met on a monthly basis to discuss and advocate for issues surrounding the campus climate for persons with disabilities. In spring of 1990, the CCA changed its name to the Council on Disability Awareness. The original mission of the CDA was to advocate for the full development and maintenance of an attitudinal and physical environment that encourages and permits people with disabilities to participate fully in the educational, occupational, social, and cultural life on the University of Iowa. Pictured in this slide are scanned images of 2 early pamphlets made by the CDA describing the mission, the history, and the goals of the council, with statements supporting diversity and inclusion from university presidents David Scorton, top right of the screen, and Mary Sue Coleman, bottom left of the screen. Over the next several years, the CDA co-sponsored the first conference on civil rights. They co-sponsored the Office of Affirmative Action, a yearly public forum addressing the Americans with Disabilities Act and campus accessibility issues. They advocated for and assisted in the hiring of the university's first reasonable accommodations specialist. They assisted in the development of a university-wide disability accommodation form and initiated and completed a faculty staff survey assessing needs for employees with disabilities. On this slide are scanned images of several surveys and reports that the CDA produced. The Council on Disability Awareness Survey, the Students with Disabilities Evaluation of Needs and Services, and the University of Iowa report on the 1991-92 Disability Awareness Census, co-sponsored with the Office of Affirmative Action. And the Campus Accessibility Guide from 1997, pictured on the left, which points out the accessibility features present in buildings across campus. I was particularly interested in two entries highlighted here: the library, bottom right, and the Hardin Library for Health Sciences, top right. They highlight minimal information about navigating the physical spaces. There's also a special note on the main library page, which mentions access to the library catalog being available on terminals throughout the building and where to reach out for assistance. Now I'll turn it over to Patti.
I'd like to start out my portion of this talk with the ADA definition of disability, which is shown on this slide. And the ADA defines a person with a disability as a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more life functions or activities. This includes people who have a record of such an impairment, even if they don't currently have a disability. It also includes individuals who do not have a disability, but are regarded as having a disability. The ADA also makes it unlawful to discriminate against a person based on that person's association with a person with a disability. Let's think about this definition for a minute. As I said before, my disabilities are typically invisible. And I know this from a campaign that we did a few years ago. 96% of disabilities are invisible. 96%. Other examples of disabilities that are typically invisible are learning disabilities, mental health disabilities, or chronic health issues. Do you know anyone with a disability? Do you work with them? Are they here in college? Do they come to our campus? You can put this in the chat if you'd like. Think about people in the library that have difficulty reading, difficulty writing, difficulty attending. These are students that we have on campus right now because having something like dyslexia or some sort of a reading disability or writing disability has nothing to do with your intellect. So it's a normal distribution. People with dyslexia having intellectual disabilities. It's a normal distribution, just like the general population. Some studies say that up to 17% of the population has some form of dyslexia. And this is just one example. So 17%, that's 1 in 6. I don't know how many people are on this call, but I'm guessing that someone on this call has some form of dyslexia, or at least knows someone with some form of dyslexia. You've probably also heard about the increased awareness of mental health, especially during this pandemic. With people being isolated so much, they're becoming depressed and anxious. I just read yesterday that nearly 10 million Americans are living with a serious mental disorder. That's not the mild or the moderate disorders, 10 million with serious mental disorders. Consider some of the most common mental disorders are things like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorders, eating disorders, paranoia, psychosis, schizophrenia, and obsessive compulsive disorder. These students are here too. They're here on campus. We have staff members here on campus with these disorders. Last, I hope that you'll think about chronic health issues that can affect our students, faculty, staff, and visitors. You might think of these as just about people who are aging, but people of all ages can have chronic health issues too. Think asthma, stroke, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease. These are just a few. So when you think about disabilities, there are a lot of us out here. 42 million have severe disabilities. Some statistics say that a quarter of the population has some form of disability. And as we age, that increases to a third of us will have some form of disability, or as some who are aging call it, an age-related impairment. Next slide, please. So I'd like to talk to you about some of the activities and events that we do to make people more aware of and to celebrate people with disabilities. First is One Watch. Have you ever watched films or documentaries about people with disabilities? How many films have you seen that have people with disabilities in the leading roles? Please put your answers in the chat. One Watch, these are things that we did in 2017, 18, and 19. And what we did was we had people watch a film or some sort of a series. And then we had community conversations about the films. So the pictures on this slide shows our One Watch branding as well as flyers for two of the films that we discussed. The One Watch tagline is engaging the University of Iowa campus community in conversations related to disability and disability awareness based on common film experience. So let's just look at the chat here. Maddie says, not enough. The coroner and CSI, yep, only a few come to mind, less than 5, not many. Ironside was, yeah. But the person in Ironside didn't actually have a disability. So it wasn't a character with a disability. Children of a Lesser God, The Untouchables. Yeah, nice job. Thanks. So our selection in 2017 was The Theory of Everything. So you might want to look at these. They're pretty fun. And in 2018, we watched Atypical, which is a series on Netflix. And in 2019, we did Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. Some faculty provided credit for students to watch these films and then attend a discussion. And we had several discussion times and places throughout campus. Next slide, please. In 2021, we changed up One Watch a bit and hosted, excuse me, hosted by the School of Social Work and Wild Bills, we co-sponsored a screening and panel discussion of the film Crip Camp, A Disability Revolution. The image on this slide, excuse me, the image on this slide shows the flyer that was used to advertise this event, which was held on October 28th of last year. We showed the movie from 4 to 6, and then we had a panel discussion of people with disabilities from 6 to 7. We had really great participation between the featured speakers and students and staff. The featured speakers were Amber Alliance, Mike Honig, Megan Meyer, and Michael Penniman. Each speaker has a different disability or is parent of a child with disability. Amber is a doctoral student. Mike is a program coordinator here at the UCED where I work. Megan is a program administrator, and Michael Penniman is a recent business school graduate. If you don't know about the movie Crip Camp, here's what we shared before the screening. And actually, I think we shared this just before we actually had the discussion. So I'm reading here. Crip Camp is about reclaiming and celebrating your identity, telling your story, and discovering the power of community. The film can be used to build an understanding of disability rights and justice, foster safe communication and healthy discussions, amplify the voices and political leverage of a marginalized community, and build bridges between people who share very similar or very different backgrounds. We can all relate to elements in this film, whether it's the joy of feeling accepted, coming of age stories, the thrill of an approaching summer, or the courage to voice our beliefs. We said that we were here today to encourage and engage in meaningful and honest discussion about what living with a disability was, is, and will be in the coming years. Again, today, 1 in 4 US adults have some type of disability. Crip Camp is one disability community story, and there are thousands more, led and told by people of all kinds, with all kinds of disabilities, ethnicities, genders, class backgrounds, and more. And just to know, disabilities crosses all of those. The issue affects all of us, whether directly or indirectly. And just a teaser for another slide that's coming up, you'll get a chance to see Crip Camp on March 29th if you'd like. More on that in a minute. So next slide is about some events in October of 2018 and October of 2021. And you know, we've been doing a lot with films as part of our awareness campaigns, but they are so powerful to teach and make people aware of people with disabilities. The picture in the upper right of this slide shows the flyer we used to advertise the film Through My Eyes, a disability simulation documentary. And again, we did this in October of 2018 for Disability Awareness Month. And this was in collaboration with Social Work and was shown at Wild Bill's coffee shop. The picture below that is of Sujit Singh. He's a former CDA member. He was a former student, just graduated with a master's in film. And he's a disability rights activist, and he's the person behind the Through My Eyes film that's in the lower right of the slide. Sujit wrote and produced this documentary to build awareness of disability through pairing 4 able-bodied people with 4 people with disabilities, and having the able-bodied person do tasks as if they had the disability of the person that they were paired with. I don't know, has anybody seen this? It's just a fabulous documentary. It's only 28 minutes. And if you can see it, it's wonderful. I love it. I show it in my classes. For example, one of the pairings is a person that's blind is paired with the developer of the Iowa City Walking Mall, the PED Mall, the pedestrian mall. And in the film, the developer wears a sleep mask to simulate blindness and then travels through his creation with a white cane for mobility and the help of a person who actually uses a white cane for navigation. Another pair is a professional dancer and a person in a wheelchair. They attend an inclusive dance class, and kind of as a surprise, Sujit puts the professional dancer in a wheelchair. And she was kind of surprised by that and really kind of uncomfortable at first. But after working with the person in the wheelchair and the instructor in the class, she loosens up and really seems to enjoy herself. So Sujit was also a guest speaker at the Social Work Student Association Lunch and Learn event. And that was highlighting National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October of 2021. He's still here in town and working as the director of an inclusive theater company. Next, I want to tell you about asset mapping. This is something that David Rooney, who's on this call, he's the co-chair of CDA with me. I want to give David credit for getting us going on this, because the idea is that before we look at needs more globally, we really want to figure out all of the disability-focused things that are already happening on campus that have to do with universal design for learning, accessibility, disability rights, and disability studies. We're really thankful to work with the Division of Student Life to have an undergraduate research student help us with this project. And we'd like you to be involved with this. So there's a couple of links on this slide. And if you have a disability-focused activity or project that you're working on, you can record it. So this is how we're starting to collect data. You can record it by taking the Accessibility and Disability Networking Survey. We'd love to have you go to this. It's on, we shortened it, this URL. It's under bit.ly/3 cap C 2 lowercase c lowercase q cap p cap h. So we want to get as much information as possible in all areas of disability-focused activities on campus. And then once we've got those results, and you can see them immediately, you could go there right now, you can go there and see what all is going on with this survey. And the idea is so that we can all network together. So you can go to this link, it's bit.ly/35 lowercase g uppercase m uppercase o uppercase o uppercase g. Those might be zeros, but I think they're O's. We hope that you will participate in that if you can. I'm just going to take a breath and look at the chat and see if there's anything else on here. Yes, we've got those in the chat. So those are the easy access. And they also put in the upcoming screening event for Crip Camp. Thank you, Maddie. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Another thing that's coming up, we don't even have a date for it yet, is Adaptive Sports Day. We're going to help with this activity that's hosted by the Health and Human Physiology Department in the in-class College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. This is a really fun way to try various sports from a disability lens. I did this a few years ago, and I got to play seated volleyball and wheelchair basketball and some other activities. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was really great to put yourself in that place. The wheelchair basketball, I wasn't even strong enough to get the basketball up high enough to get it in the basket. So, oh my gosh, people that are doing wheelchair basketball are true athletes. And it's great. I hope you get a chance to go there sometime. The last upcoming event that I want to share with you is that Judy Heumann is coming to campus. And she's coming for a university lecture series, and we are thrilled. We are so excited about this. Judy Heumann, if you don't know who she is, has written a couple books about her life growing up with a disability, the discrimination that she has faced, and her lifelong political advocacy for people with disabilities. She's also one of the main characters in the documentary Crip Camp. And Crip Camp, as I mentioned some of it before, but Crip Camp is about high school students with disabilities going to Camp Gen Ed, where they experience liberation, full inclusion as human beings. They've formed lifelong friendships, and later in life, they were advocates for political reform. One of the scenes in the documentary is when the group took over a federal building in San Francisco for a month. And they were protesting that the president was not signing Section 504 of the Rehab Act. And just a spoiler, they got it signed. So on March 29th, if you want to join us at the film scene, there's going to be a screening of Crip Camp, followed by questions, answers, a reception, and book signing with Judy Heumann. You do have to pay for tickets at the film scene, but we're just thrilled that she's going to be there. It's like a movie star coming to town. And on the 30th, Judy will be at Hansher with an introduction by former Senator Tom Harkin for the UI lecture series. And there will be a reception before the lecture and a fireside chat afterwards. This one is free, but you do have to get a ticket for that. So hopefully there's some links to that. And then the images on the slide, the upper right image is Judy giving a TED Talk. I mean, she's in the disability community, she is a star. She's very well known. She's given TED Talks and speaks all over the place. She's wearing a bright red sweater and has this wonderful, huge smile on her face. In the lower right are pictures of her two books, Being Human and Rolling Warrior. And the image in the lower left is a poster for Crip Camp, a disability revolution, when it was the winner of the Sundance Film Festival. It shows a person in a manual wheelchair being pushed by a camp counselor with no shirt on. So I want to end this with a couple of slides about how to find us and a little bit about some of our members. So this slide shows you how to find us. There are links to our website and our Facebook page, and hopefully those are being shared in the chat as well. There's also 2 screenshots of our website and our Facebook pages. And I just want to say that on this slide is a note about all the images in this presentation. The images and documents, unless they were otherwise credited, are from the UI Special Collections and Archives, the Iowa Digital Library, and the CDA website and Facebook page. And then our next slide is about where our current CDA members are from. So Center for Disabilities and Development, that would be me and Mike Honig. Center for Diversity and Enrichment, we're definitely involved with that and the different councils. The Equal Opportunity and Diversity, graduate programs, Information Security and Policy Office, Information Technology Services, and the accessibility specialist is one of our members. The libraries, obviously Brad. Student Disability Services, David Rooney, who's our co-chair, is on this call. He's from SDS. The Stanley Museum of Art. I can hardly wait to see what Elizabeth has done with accessibility at the Stanley Museum of Art. She is working overtime to make the Stanley Museum of Art accessible. The School of Social Work and Wild Bills, Jen Knights is our person in charge of media, and she has been really instrumental in getting a lot of things going with some of the activities that the CDA does. Therapeutic Recreation and Child Life, that's Bree Swoop. She is the force behind bringing Judy Heumann to campus. UI Reach and UI Students for Disability Advocacy and Awareness. We have representatives from the student group on our CDA, and it's really great to have them there. Next slide is about joining the CDA. We'd love to have you join. Just email cda@list.uiowa.edu, and one of us will contact you. Our meetings are typically on the fourth Friday of the month at 11:30. We're still using Zoom, but you email us, we'll give you a Zoom link. We'd love to have you come. But be careful, because if you come to 2 meetings, you are automatically a member of CDA, and we will try to pull you in for life. Next is some resources. So faculty and staff disability services, the UI Libraries Ideas Council, and the UI Libraries Liaison for patrons with disabilities. That's Janelyn Moss. Janelyn is a former CDA chair. And then the last one is just a thank you with our emails if you need to contact either Brad or myself. Again, I'm Patti Bahr. I'm at patricia-bahr@uiowa.edu, and my co-presenter is Brad Ferrier, and he's at brad-ferrier@uiowa.edu. And I think those are probably going to be put in the chat as well. Yes, great. So now we are available for questions.